Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of another real estate podcast with Scott and one more time.
Yeah,
Is it with
start
Scott
off
and Paul
again.
or Paul and Scott? Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever flows the best for you.
All right. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 2 officially of another real estate podcast. I'm Paul Germany's, and of course I'm with my partner in crime, Scott Innocente. And Scott, a lot to cover here today.
Big time. Obviously, the big breaking news, we just got it within the last hour. The Bank of Canada is holding rates at 4.5%. Not a big surprise to me on the hold. I think I anticipated that. They kind of telegraphed it. But what was surprising to me was the fact that they said that they're going to get inflation down to 3% by this summer. That's something that I couldn't have predicted.
Fantastic news, though, that would be if it came down to 3%. Am I right?
It would be fantastic news unless you're, in my opinion, a first-time buyer, because if inflation comes down and they are holding rates steady, I think that first-time buyer pool of homes is really going to dry up quickly. It's already kind of happening.
I agree.
And not to get into the business of predicting anything, but that's with a lot of uncertainty and with rates jumping very quickly, and it's already kind of happening. You know, I don't know what's going to happen if we get more clarity and inflation comes back down. So, Paul, what are you seeing out there in the 400K price range, that first-time buyer price range? I mean, we've been talking about it. It seems to be pretty active. What are you seeing out there?
Well, first of all, I think, this time last year and probably 6 to 8 months before that, that price range just became absolutely non-existent. I mean, we would have people that we would sit down with all the time, and their budget would be, $250 to $350, and we would, of course, take them on. No client goes unserved, but it would be a battle, and a lot of the times those situations would end up in them renting because that market just didn't exist anymore. And that's a real fun market actually to work in, believe it or not. It's very enjoyable. It's a lot of first-time home buyers in that market, and we really enjoy serving first-time home buyers because they're just so excited, and we get to take them from knowing essentially only what they know to becoming market experts. That's always fun. So that market 100% was extinct last year. And then throughout mid-end 2022, we saw the 300,000 market come back, and there's a lot. You could get an amazing rental or a property for $320, fantastic, didn't need too much work, and that would make probably pretty good profits if you were leasing it, or if you were living in it, the mortgage payment would be quite affordable. Now we're seeing the 300 range once again drift away from the market. Would you agree?
Yeah, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 offers on these properties. And not to say that you can't get anything under 300. Of course, there are still opportunities out there. But generally, most of the first-time buyers that we're dealing with are looking for something a little bit higher quality in a great location. And it's those ones that are really rising quickly back up into that 400K price range. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think we're more in the high threes, but
yeah.
If this continues on, we're going to be back in the fours in no time.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is, I was talking to Pritish from CIBC, the mortgage specialist there, and he was telling me that people with $100,000 incomes, because the qualification rate is so high right now with the stress test, you're only getting approved for $400K. And that's a great income for a single person. And that last year or a year and a half ago or so, when the rates were lower, that would have been a 450 approval approximately. Right. So your approval rate's down 100 to 150,000 because of the higher rates in the stress test. That means the first-time buyer pool is really going to be concentrated in that 300K range, which probably going to push the prices up into the fours like we predict.
And that's a great point to mention. It's price versus affordability. Am I right? Where just because the price is lower doesn't mean it's more affordable. And I think we've all seen those stats and those graphs where 2022 purchase price, down payment, and then your mortgage payment, and then 2023 purchase price obviously lower, down payment's lower, but the mortgage payment is the same, right? So
the same actually,
or
somehow it's actually statistically more unaffordable now than it was when we were even at peak prices, which is hard to imagine. But the interest rates, I mean, the debt servicing costs on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, when you double or triple the rate, is significant, right? It's 2.5, 3, 4% on $700,000-800,000 sometimes.
Yeah.
So it just
Sorry to interrupt every single time you speak.
Yes.
Just thinking
sorry
out,
too.
just thinking out loud. It's okay. Nice haircut, by the way. Two fresh haircuts here today. So I mean, this podcast is a really big deal for us. We get our haircut every time we record it.
Which is it's getting pretty pricey nowadays, right? Like, speaking of inflation,
Right.
now I'm cutting you off. But,
yes, we're going to circle back on that, Scott.
Yeah.
So price versus so what I want to mention real quick is, tell me if, as an investor, is the cheat code right now, if you're liquid, okay, to buy something heavy cash, okay, less of a mortgage the better. If you can buy a 350 property right now, while that market's fading, all cash, sit on it, wait till the interest rates come, obviously lease it and make some money, wait till the interest rates come up, refi it, and then inject it back in. Is that not a cheat
I
code
mean,
there?
normally I don't recommend such a strategy because you're losing your leverage, which is one of the best parts of real estate, is getting 80-20 loan to value ratio, 5-to-1 leverage, almost risk free. But in this case, if you have money sitting around in the bank, you're losing money quickly to inflation. It actually does make more sense than leaving your money in cash.
Because we know, I mean, not to make any predictions, but I'm going to predict that the prices are going to go up.
Yes, I mean, here it's almost inevitable. Real estate long term, in my opinion, is going to go up at least the rate of inflation because we're short housing, and also the big price dips may have already occurred. Right? Not to say that there's not a little bit more downside here, and not to say that it's guaranteed to go up, but the big drop of 20-25%. I don't know if I don't think we're gonna see anything like that again, because we'd be so far below replacement cost that it wouldn't even make sense.
Yeah.
So
and you're going to see the market get busier because the new cycle is going to change, and now every listing appointment I'm on, they know that it's not last March, which is obviously it's either me educating them about that, or the media has made it very clear that things have come down. Having said that, I've said it before, it's a very healthy market. It is still a good real estate market.
Market really only becomes not fundamentally sound when supply outstrips demand, right? When there's an excess of supply.
Right.
And the Bank of Canada's own words, the CMHC Housing Corporation's own words are that we have no indication that we're in an oversupplied market. In fact, it's the exact opposite. The only thing that's happening right now, folks, people need to understand this, is prices are coming down to match the new levels of affordability due to higher borrowing costs. It is not a crash. We are not oversupplied. In fact, it's the opposite. Now that we've reached, some level of parity, we're starting to see prices tick back higher slowly.
Yeah.
Right. Prices were jumping 10, 20K a week in prime time. Now that jump is 5, 10K a month, maybe, right? In the past couple months. And we are in a limited inventory environment because of the time of year that contributes as well. We should see prices, that's the way the market's supposed to work. It's supposed to tick higher slowly and steadily at about the rate of inflation, and got out of whack with low free money.
Yep.
And now it's coming back into balance. But balance here in Canada means a slow and steady rise. And I'm not saying that we're done with rate hikes. I'm not saying that this is the bottom or anything like that. I don't know. But once it does bottom out, and once interest rates stop rising and we just kind of come into a normal market, we're going to see prices tick higher because we don't have enough houses. It's that simple. Just don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah, and the outlook for Windsor looks absolutely fantastic. Again, lots going on here.
Yeah, now let's touch on what the big comment here to me was, the 3% inflation rate by the summer. I hope that happens because, talking to Louise this morning, goes to buy one of those roast chickens at Zehrs, and it's $19, right? That was $10 last year, and now it's 19. So inflation is burning a hole in people's pockets. I know my haircut went from 35 to 50 plus tip real quick, and that's in the past 12 months.
Yeah.
And when we're doing two episodes a month, it's
a good time to be bald. Not that I would know.
Yes.
Everything is up. I mean, but when you dive deep into it and you actually are experiencing it, which everybody is, it's it's wild. I mean, $19 for a roasted chicken. I mean, come on. How do you
And the pace was just so quick, right? It's almost undigestible for a lot of people.
My biggest worry, not to interrupt you again.
Fifth time's the charm.
Yeah, my biggest worry. Now you interrupted me again. 6 times the charm. My biggest worry is that these prices that are here, inflation comes down in the summer to 3%, and they're like, oh, you know what? They're kind of biting on this, and we're making big profits here, and they keep it there.
This is one of the best points and the most misunderstood. When inflation comes down to 2 or 3%, that's their target. That's not deflationary. You're not going to see price cuts. You're just going to see them rise less quickly. So that $19 chicken might stay at $19, right? Unfortunately. So it's a very good point.
Let's use what about lumber? Remember, lumber was absolutely astronomical. That did come back down. Am I right?
Yeah. So that's a market in those types of market where you don't really have huge limits on it. When prices go up, they produce more. Right, very, very quickly. The lumber mills start back up, and whatever, they're making a ton of money. So then the market gets flooded with supply, and then building starts going down because of rates, and now the market comes back into balance. But more limited goods like houses, which are hard to build and take years sometimes to get the development permits and the property built and all that, those don't have the flexibility to come down in price as much, as well as other more limited goods. Right, not just real estate, any limited good. You might see those values a little bit more sticky. Not that they won't come down a bit, but they're not going to come down to pre-inflation levels. That's the point.
I mean, when lumber was all the way up, I mean, Hacksaw Jim Duggan couldn't even leave the house.
I was wondering where Hacksaw was.
He felt naked out there. And that's a great point because what we're seeing right now, the trades, the cost to build a new home or a new condo building, that hasn't adjusted with the market like the housing prices have. So that's why we have a lot of projects on standstill. Mind you, I feel like in the recent week or weeks that those guys are starting to come down because now they're looking for work and now they need to come and jump in the same sandbox that we're all in. And it goes to like back in the day when everything was crazy and I want this, I want that. I shouldn't bite the hand that feeds you because now these are the people in the companies that are going to give you the work. So they are coming down. I'm hearing out there, which is nice. So we may see some right when rates stabilize, some trades and things go out for retender. We may see some projects continue on as opposed to being shelved. And I think all the projects, especially speaking here in Windsor, I don't think they're canceled or they're not going to move forward. They're just simply stalling because certain prices haven't come down. They will go out for retender and be reintroduced to the market, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. And the fundamentals remain that we are significantly short housing, and a lot of these developers, I think people have this misconception that they're all going to go bust or something, but the developers in general are probably sitting on a lot of capital right now, right? We just had a massive boom for like 12 years straight. These developers have deep bank accounts. They can afford to sit on a project that, if they have shovels in the ground right now, they can sit on it, they can delay it, they can push it back probably without bankrupting themselves. So I don't really foresee like this massive influx of bankrupt developers or something like that. What is happening, like you said, is they're just putting the projects on pause, right? Or delaying them or stretching them out a little bit longer until prices for real estate go up, resale prices projected, and or the trades costs and materials come down, right? Yeah. So it's probably going to be a combination of both, right? When absolutely. They feel like they can get these projects sold for X amount and it's going to cost them X amount, builders aren't in the business of building things at a loss, right? So as soon as the numbers come back into balance, we're going to see them back out on the streets. And that's another point here as well, folks. Like the housing crisis is not getting better with these higher rates and lower prices. It's getting worse because all these projects are being delayed and projects take a long time start to finish. So we could be adding on 2, 3, 4, 5 years onto the projected housing crisis, in my opinion, right now. That's why the Bank of Canada is probably a little bit weary of raising rates any further.
And just like the suppliers and all that coming down, we also need lot prices to come down with the market as well. That's one thing that hasn't come down that much either, although we're starting to see it now.
For sure, yeah. I mean, here's the problem though with lots, in my opinion, is that a lot of times you don't need to sell them, right? The holding cost is very limited. It's okay. Well, the market's down right now. I'm $5 million in the bank and I own a bunch of land. Why do I got to sell it now, right? Now, people that do need to sell or want to sell, or maybe it's some part of an estate or something like that, yeah, they're going to have to lower the price if they want to sell it now. But if you don't have to, I mean, if I own a bunch of land, I don't think now is the time I'm looking to sell it. So that's why, like, we're not seeing like the market being flooded with vacant land right now at discounted costs, but it could change. It could change, right? A lot of this depends on how long and how deep this goes, but we're just not there yet, I guess is the best we can say.
Yeah, and I mean, but the outlook is, I mean, I can't wait to look back on these podcasts, see what was right, what was wrong.
For sure.
Nobody's perfect, but the outlook is so positive, and at the end of the day, it's going to be quite a busy market.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even touch on immigration.
Even right now, it's a busy. Even right now, it's busy. It's a very, very healthy, busy market.
Yes.
Very. And as we head into spring, we should see some more inventory coming up in the next few months.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Speaking of, let's hit some market stats.
Yeah, let's dive right into Windsor. What's happening here, statistically speaking? Right, a lot of the stuff we say is anecdotal, but let's get into the stats.
Hyperlocal. I know we love stats. We're going to hit on the ones that we feel are the most important here. We're going to compare this to last January. We're going to keep it between November and February. So these stats were released last week by our board. This is the Windsor Essex County Association of Realtors, right from the horse's mouth. So, starting with number of residential listings. In January, we had 598 residential listings, and in February, that ticked up to 621. So, what that says is there's a little bit more inventory out there. Now, does this include relists? Does this include new pure listings? You always have to keep that in mind. Sometimes people will cancel a listing and put it back up. That will count as
it'll double count it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So that it could be a little bit skewed there, because if we break down these numbers, it's not necessarily how us in the trenches are really feeling it. So number of active listings, end of current month. So at the end of January, we had 977 active listings, and end of February, we had 1,027 active listings. Again, another uptick. This indicates that there is more inventory out there via the graph, but it really doesn't feel like that. It feels like inventory is still quite low, which is why everybody I'm sitting down with to sell, we're recommending get it up.
Yeah, that's a great point soon. Too. And keep in mind, there could be a little bit more inventory right now, but there also could be a little bit more buyers out there, right?
Yep.
I know December and January, people aren't super hyped up about getting into the real estate market in general, right? You're coming off the holidays, you're coming off New Year's. I think we're going to see buyers enter more and more into March, April, May, and the summer months.
Now, what's interesting here on the number of residential sales. So the number of residential sales in September was 403. And then in October, 366. So this is the number of houses that sold per month. November down to 331. December expectedly way down to 230. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year in January to 271 uptick. And then we upticked again in February to 281. So only up 10 over last month, but the listing inventory has increased a lot more than 10. Again, I think a lot of this could be canceled listings and then them coming up as fresh as well. But 281 in February, still a little bit low. I'd like to see that number back hovering in the high 3, low 4, Scotty. What do you think?
Yeah, 281 sales is a very low number, and it is like I'm telling you, I'm working with buyers right now. We are struggling to find what they are looking for, right? It could be across the spectrum. It's hard to find what we want, and when we do, there's multiple offers on it, and I've lost several offers this month, so that's that could be contributing to the low number of sales. It's probably correlated to the lack of supply.
Now, one thing that does make sense for a low inventory is the average days on market. So the average days on market has dropped significantly down 2 days to 30 days as opposed to 32. Now, if you get the strategy right and you're advised correctly and you have the right marketing plan and you've got a great negotiator on your side, your house will not be up on market for 30 days. Again, this is the average days on market. If everything goes correctly and the plan is executed, 10 out of 10, you will be on market for 1 to 7 days. Okay?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. properly priced, proper strategy, depending on your particular property, and then some great negotiating, like you said.
Absolutely. The unsung hero of a real estate professional, once again, is how well he or she can negotiate. That should never be discounted, ever. Okay. Now, homes sold under 550 and homes sold above 550. We're most definitely seeing more homes sell above 550 in the most recent weeks. Still a 2-to-1 ratio of the homes that sold under 550 as opposed to the homes that sold above 550. So under 550, obviously still a busier market.
Yeah, and no surprise, it's the most affordable price range. A lot of people that were getting qualified for 6, 7, 800K are now getting qualified for 4 or 500K. Huge drop in affordability. That's why we're seeing a lot more activity in that lower end. But it's important to remember that lower end, let's call it 0 to 500K, is what fuels the mid-range. Mid-range typically fuels the higher end range. So this might be the start of the next segment of the market. We'll see.
And we really got to watch out in our market when these interest rates do come down. And you're going to have a moment where the interest rates are coming down and there's going to be extreme affordability. You're going to see the investors flock in and price out a lot of people once again. The investors right now are gone, right?
90%.
Okay.
90%, yeah.
Toronto is gone.
Toronto investors are gone. Toronto buyers are not.
Okay. So when Toronto buyers come back, that means we're seeing an uptick in the GTA in their actions. So we lost the Toronto buyer because there was opportunity in their own market. When we see that Toronto buyer come back, and we will let you know right away because we'll be getting 1,000 calls a day from those agents who can't get a deal done over there, so they have to come down here to get a deal done. When that happens, we'll advise, of course. But that tells me that something's happening in Toronto, right? It's a trickle down effect, and then they come down here.
Of course, and keep in mind as well that even if the market opportunities do exist in Toronto, we're still 50% cheaper approximately, or on an average sale price basis. So there are a certain segment of people in the GTA that will, no matter what they do, they'll never be able to afford a detached home anywhere in the Toronto core. And that demographic, I don't think is ever going away. I don't care how many opportunities there are there because it's just too expensive when they're, even when they do come up. So I think we'll continually be a funnel for the GTA buyer as long as we remain relatively affordable.
And speaking of affordability, our favorite stat that we like to track is the monthly average sale price. Again, at its peak last March, $723,000 and change. In December, $473,000 and change. Up in January to $516,000. Up in February to $532,000 and change. So, I mean,
what I take from this is that prices can drop really quickly, as we saw over the past year, and prices can also rise very quickly. So from December to February, that's a $60,000 average sale price change. That's a lot of dough. It's a lot of dough. If you're buying in December, you could be up $60,000 in equity already. So it can get very scary. That's why like these interest rate announcements and stuff are so important, because that's what's going to dictate sentiment. And when the buyer sentiment becomes normalized, these prices can jump very quickly in an undersupplied environment.
Yeah, market stats, absolutely crucial in our business. And again, wasn't until later on in my career that we really started tracking these. I mean, in our office, we are always talking about, what's the inventory right now? Is it deemed a seller's market, a buyer's market, or a healthy market? So we can report those back to you.
Tell us about JoJo.
Oh, yeah, let's get personal here for a minute. Okay, so JoJo, Day of Champion game on the weekend, the Tecumseh Eagles, and this game was absolutely electric.
Day of Champions, is this like the Stanley Cup of...
It's just like it, Scott. Great question. This is the pinnacle of the season. Last week was the semis. This week was a championship game. And my Lord, did they ever put on a show. The conveners at the banquet after were saying, listen, I've been convening this league for 5 years now, and I got to tell you something. I've watched a lot of Day of Champions from U5 all the way up to U whatever it goes to. And this, my friend, was the best game that we've ever witnessed. And he is not wrong. It was absolutely electric. A 1-1 tie a 1-1 tie, which is a low-scoring game in general, take it to overtime, and they took it home against a team that has never lost. Their first loss in the championship game. So to say the party after was epic would be an understatement. Proud of the boys and girls that are on the team. And, man, was it youth sports are so enjoyable, and they're just so crucial in one's upbringing. Just awesome. I enjoyed a great weekend. Hockey is done, and now we move on to baseball.
Awesome. JoJo is Paul's son, for anybody that doesn't know.
Yeah, one of them.
Yes. Awesome. How did JoJo play?
He played absolutely fantastic.
Game-winning goal?
No. Joe's a defenseman at most times, and just a brick wall out there.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So, guys, there it is. Thank you for joining us for episode officially 2 of another real estate podcast. And again, I hope you found some value in here. If ever you need an opinion on your place or an opinion on the market, or you just want to say what's up, give me or Scott a call. We'd be more than happy to serve you, and always available.
Don't forget about the free stuff that we give away every month, right? If you're in our database, some pretty awesome stuff this month coming up, right?
Yep.
I think we've got some lottery tickets going out and whatnot. So super exciting.
Yep, absolutely. Guys, take care. Have a great day, and we'll see you